All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today for our November 2024 Masters of Entrepreneurship webinar series. I'm going to be joined here shortly by one of our professors, one of our wonderful professors, Jim LoPresti, who is going to talk through his experience with our Masters of Entrepreneurship program, both as an entrepreneur himself, as well as someone who is helping to shape the minds and shape the future success of so many of our students. I'm very, very excited for you all to hear that. My name is Brian Brinkman. I am the manager of recruitment and advising for the MS Entrepreneurship program. If you are in the application process, there is a very, very good chance that we have talked at length. I've answered any questions you have, talked with you about how to pursue your future dreams in entrepreneurship. If you are interested in learning about the program, I am the person who would talk to you. I'll be sharing my contact information throughout the webinar here. And I'd be happy to talk with you, answer any questions you have about the program so that you feel like you're in a position where you can make the best decision for yourself and for your education. We are recording this, so for whatever reason you have to drop off at any point in time, I will be posting this and sending it out to students tomorrow, but I'm thankful that you're all here to hang with us here today. We're going to go ahead and get started, tell you a little bit about what to expect here today. So in today's webinar, you can anticipate, like I said, we're going to do an interview with Professor Jim LoPresti. Really excited for that. We're going to give you an overview of the Jake Jobs Center for Entrepreneurship and what you can anticipate from the center, what makes it unique here at CU Denver's Business School. We are going to talk through the program structure, the curriculum, what to anticipate from an educational standpoint here within our program. Talk through some of the networking and the mentorship opportunities that we offer for students at the program and how we think that mentorship, internships, networking are really the backbone and the foundation for you to be a successful entrepreneur here in Denver. Talk a bit about tuition and scholarships, go through the application, and then I will open things up at the end for a brief Q&A for more general questions. Anything specific about your application, your situation will best be handled in a one-on-one phone conversation between myself and you. You'll have my contact information. I'd be more than happy to set up an appointment if that would be best for you. With that, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Professor LoPresti. We can talk through our program and talk through his thoughts on it. How are you doing, Jim?
Doing fine, Brian. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. It's Wednesday. The snow is melting here in Denver. It can't complain too much.
No, I never complain living in Denver.
There you go. It's a good place to be.
Oh, it's a
Well,
great place to be.
it is, and it's a great place for our students, both from a weather standpoint, from a community standpoint, but also from an entrepreneurship standpoint. I'm curious, before we jump into kind of the questions I have for you, how long have you been in Denver, and what are your thoughts, generally speaking, about the entrepreneurial community here?
So I've been in Denver for 37 years. I moved here when I was one. And the entrepreneurship community here is outstanding, actually, because there's so many, the people that I meet are really, really very creative and innovative who've moved here from other places. And they not only come for the weather and for skiing and for all the outdoor activities and such, but up in Boulder, there is this pool of investors who are more than happy to fund your venture, whatever it may be. There are I think they have 4 or 5 different incubators where you'll get so much money to work on your idea with a mentor entrepreneur. The area itself is really, really rich for in resources for entrepreneurs, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's become so much of a hub for people with new ideas, with innovative ideas, both from a quality of life standpoint. They want to live in a place that gives back in that sort of standpoint. You can go out and let off some steam and get a good workout in the mountains, but then also come back to the city where there are a lot of opportunities, and as you noted, a lot of investors. And for us, the only entrepreneurship program here in Colorado, the only entrepreneurship program here on the Front Range in the central western United States. So
Yeah.
tell me, kind of, when we talk about this program, tell me generally or specifically, wherever your thoughts go in this, why do you think that a student should enroll in CU Denver's MS in Entrepreneurship program?
Well, the entrepreneurship program in general is a really robust program. The MS is a brand new offering for the school, and I think that just gives us a huge advantage over so many other so-called entrepreneurship programs. Frankly, I worked up in Boulder at CU Boulder and Leeds for 11 years. They have an entrepreneurship um, uh, group up there, but they really don't do a heck of a lot when it comes to what we're doing. It's very generalized. We have an incredible group of faculty members. Our administrative folks are all outstanding, incredibly responsive and knowledgeable. The MS in itself is just a really good credential to have as far as when you're going to present to angel investors, banks, or whomever, but when you're looking for your funding, to show them that you really got intensely into the whole concept of entrepreneurship by taking it a step further from a BSBA, what have you. I think that in itself is just a really, really dynamic quality of our program that I don't think anyone else is offering. Maybe in California, but
Yeah, and I mean, I think that that is, when the program was conceived of, and what led to where it is today, that idea of taking grad level business exposure and grad level business education, but really throwing you out there into developing your own business plan, networking with other entrepreneurs, putting yourself out there to pitch your ideas to people. You're really putting students in a position where they feel like they're entrepreneurs from day one. That value of that experiential education, that can't really be mimicked, and that's part of, from my perspective, I'd be curious your thoughts. That's part of what separates us, that you're really, it's triability from day one within the field.
right, right. And virtually all, if not all of our faculty members are entrepreneurs, have in one way or another either still are or were, and very successful, sold off their businesses, and now just give back by teaching in our classes. The whole I think there's so much going on in Denver itself to support entrepreneurship. I think it's the Commons on Champa, which is just a huge resource. One of my former students who graduated last year um, was actually the executive director of that for, I
Mm.
think, 4 or 5 years. And she actually left to start her own a second business. But
Oh, wow.
she said the quality of people that they were mentoring or who were seeking advice or what have you, she said it was beyond what she had expected. And so that's why I think there are so many venture capitalists and angel investors or whatever in this area because they know it's so rich. It's a fertile ground for people with great ideas who just looking for a little push forward. And I think also the MS degree itself is another one of those pushes that
Mm,
can get you
mm.
in front of these folks, like I mentioned earlier. But also it gives you this whole background, I think, of knowledge and experience that you wouldn't normally get if you just took 3 or 4 classes in entrepreneurship. And the other thing, the quality of people in the program. I've taught in entrepreneurship now for, I think, 8 or 9 years. And the quality of folks, the discussion groups that
Mm,
ensue from my classes anyway, the projects that they present, and some of them, some of these projects I would fund. But
mm,
these students say, well, I don't have the time, I don't have the bandwidth, I don't have this or that right now. But later on I might. I said, hey, when you're ready, let me know.
yeah.
I've had students come back to me and say, hey, remember that project I did for you back in New Ventures and project management? I think I want to pick that up again. And I would advise them on whatever they needed if I could. So, I mean, it's just that rich, rich resource that is just in abundance here that makes this program perfect, perfect for anybody interested in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that feedback that you're getting, I tell this to students all the time when I'm talking with them about applying and preparing for the program is you're going to get critical feedback in a way that you have not received. Oftentimes, a student who's interested in entrepreneurship comes up with an idea for a product that is going to change everything, and they tell their
Right.
friends and their family, and everyone says, "Oh, that's a brilliant idea! Nobody else is thinking of that." And then you present that to an investor, and you get a lot of hard questions you wouldn't have expected. And I think
Right.
that to your point here, the challenge that you're going to encounter of having a great idea in one's head versus working that out and preparing that for conversations with investors, conversations with other entrepreneurs is really invaluable here. I'm curious, and I don't want to I want to put a black mark on any other programs, but there's a lot of options for students who are interested in an advanced business degree.
Mhm.
Everything from an MS in marketing to international business to a general MBA. What, in your perspective, makes the MS in entrepreneurship different, and makes it the right program for a specific type of student?
Um, I would say it was definitely the right program for that specific type of student who is an entrepreneurial, has that entrepreneurial spirit, that entrepreneurial mindset. An MBA is generalized. You can take some entrepreneurship courses as electives, but you don't get the depth of detail and also quality in entrepreneurship courses, content. Um, an MS in international business. If you're an entrepreneur, this is basically the only option you should consider. Um, you can learn accounting, you can learn finance, at least the details, the fundamentals, whatever that you would need um, if you're an entrepreneur. But again, the content is so specific to shaping and forming uh, just incredible entrepreneurs who have all of this background. We do mock interviews in my classes for students who are going to present their idea for funding. And
Mm,
again, our students will ask those hard questions that they know. Many of them are already entrepreneurs and just want some more background. And those who are just budding entrepreneurs uh, get such incredible responses and questions from my students who already have that background, which I don't know if you get that in many other programs. It's directed specifically at you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start your own business. This is how you do it, and this is how you don't do it. So we get both. Um, I teach a course a program actually in Maymester, which is basically 75% graduate students, international
mm,
entrepreneurship in Barcelona. And there we have the students will go and visit with different entrepreneurial businesses that have just started. We get guest speakers in who are entrepreneurs. We go to events that the vendor I work with sets up, and one of them was started, I think, probably 15, 20 years ago by
Mm,
a Brazilian woman. And it's, well, I don't, the name of it is F Up Nights. And they talk about where they screwed up. They bring in entrepreneurs from all over the world and they say, I started my business, it really took off, and then here's where I screwed up. Don't do this. So, and I've been doing the International Entrepreneurship Program for 8 years now. My students say that was so invaluable, learning
yeah.
what not to do in addition to what to do. Yeah, yeah, good stuff. And we get that. And I bring that sort of perspective into the classroom too. Don't bring your ego to work every day if you're an entrepreneur. It'll kill you and your venture ultimately. All the lessons learned that are so critical for getting a real well-rounded perspective on entrepreneurship. It's completely different from what we do in some of the other degree programs.
It's something that I talk to students about. I love to hear that you have reinforced it is, if you're going to start a business, you're going to have to invest some money, and usually you're going to have to invest some of your own money and take the significant risk to move forward your career based on this larger dream. And the biggest challenge for a lot of businesses is, you know, uh, do they survive year one? Do they survive year two? And what happens
Right,
at the end of that? Sure, you've learned a lot, but have you lost significant money that you can't use for your next business? Where do you turn next career wise? And I always say to them, you're going to have to invest this money one way or the other. Why not invest it into a program where you test out all these theories, where you
right,
learn what failure is, where you learn what what is so important, like you said, about being humble in this field, before you get to a position where you have to put your own money on the line for the business itself. So you can kind of think about this in the same way as your first couple of years in a business. You're testing things out, you're
right,
putting out ideas that you think are really good, game changers, disruptors. Maybe they're ultimately not, but maybe there's a nugget in there that you should pursue and you should follow. Wouldn't it be better to learn it in this environment than just going out there on your own and saying, I think I can change the world the way I want to?
right, right. I don't think anybody can change the world the way they want to. Or very few people.
Yeah,
It's a huge world and there's so
it
much
is.
diversity.
Yeah.
And the thing is, uh, what you had said about there is this quality about the information that we share with our students
Mm,
that's
mm,
absolutely invaluable. I learn from the stuff that I do and the projects that I give my students for my own business. And
mm.
we're all learning. It's a beautiful cooperative kind of strategy. And which is another thing. A lot of people will just, you read the textbooks and whatever, but what do you do if you're an entrepreneur? You've invested all this money you've saved, and suddenly there's a new pandemic.
Right.
And how do you pivot? How do you move in another direction so that you don't lose everything you've been building, your career toward? And we do scenarios, what if scenarios and such. And what would you do if you had just put all your money into a restaurant and bang zoom? Um, Everything's got to close down. So we bring real life into it. It's not just old textbook stuff, not even close.
Yeah. And that's essential because you have to have that experiential side because you're absolutely right. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen a year from now. And we're making decisions, at least in the initial phase of launching a business, based on the current climate that we want to either be a part of or we want to help change. and you don't know if things are going to change in a manner that goes against the nature of your business. Um,
Right.
with all this in mind, you mentioned new venture operations and project management. Tell us
Uh-huh.
the classes that you teach and a little bit about them, and why you think that those classes. This is a bit of an opportunity for you to, get on your high horse here. Tell us why your classes are such great value for our program. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Um, sure. Well, I do teach new venture operations and project management. And when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be project manager. Your venture is
Mm,
a project, and the whole uh, the strategic mind that it takes to go from the concept to your launch is all managed the same way that project managers manage any program or project. And so I look at how entrepreneurs need to be project managers, and project managers need to be entrepreneurial. They need to be innovative and creative. They have to know how to pivot, as I said earlier, when some sort of obstacle is thrown in their way and their strategic plan is thrown off course, or their vision, if you will. Um, the other course I teach is visionary leadership in new ventures, which again looks at how a real hardcore entrepreneur is also visionary.
mm,
And I separate vision from leadership. I mean, you can be visionary, great concepts and such, but a horrible leader. That's
mm,
my Steve Jobs example. He was a horrible person to most of the people who work for him. And when I worked for
sure.
Sun Microsystems, I had several colleagues who went over to went over to Apple and worked just under Steve Jobs, and said they had never met a more repulsive person in a leadership position. Just
Wow.
absolutely cruel and nasty. So,
Yeah.
but visionary, absolutely, absolutely. And then you can be a great leader and not be visionary. You just don't have um, that way to look forward and say, this is what we need to change, and this is how we're going to change it. Um, and so that's one of my favorite classes, the visionary leadership class. And then I also teach lean marketing. So anyone who's an entrepreneur, one of the biggest expenses, investments will be your marketing. So I
Sure.
guess around 10, 15 years ago, lean marketing started to get it some honorable mention of its own, and then just took off. So I'll teach my students in that course, how do you basically market your concept, your idea on a shoestring? Um,
Yeah.
and there are plenty of ways of doing it. I mean, the fact that you can be an entrepreneur with just a URL these days. You don't need bricks and mortar. You don't need 100 people working for you. You can do it all online. And your marketing can also be pretty much all online and be incredibly as effective, if not more effective, than sending out flyers, direct mail, posters on the sides of RTD buses and all the other, tangible stuff. So yeah, that's another fun one too, the lean marketing. So
Well, and I'll tell everyone out there who's listening, we have multiple pathways into this program. The majority of students will do the full 10-course MS in Entrepreneurship program, which I'll share a few more details about in a couple of slides. But we also offer a triable 3-course certificate that students can take. And by taking 3 courses, you can earn a certificate, and then that can be rolled into the master's, or you take that information and you utilize it in your career at that point in time. And Jim has just listed out 3 courses that he oversees: new venture operations, leadership in new ventures, and lean marketing. 3 courses that if you were to take those based on wherever you're at in your career right now, in terms of thinking, you know, I've got an idea. I have the drive to be an entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss. Can I test out if this is something that is right for me? those three classes would give you a sense of, do I have the operational organization mindset to run a new organization and to wrangle everything together on a day-to-day basis and have the perspective over half a year to a full year of where we're going? How is my leadership style? How is my visionary perspective on changing the industry? And then also, as Jim mentioned, if I don't have a lot of a budget, but I need people to know who my company is, how do I market it? What do I do? And so those three courses could really give you the opportunity to get a sense of, where am I going with my career? Is this the right path for me? And again, I'll share some more information about specifics around the program for everyone out there here in a couple of slides. But if you are curious about the certificate or the full program, don't hesitate to reach out. A couple more questions here for you, Jim.
Sure.
So we talk often here in the Jake Jabs Center about the differences between entrepreneurialism and intrapreneurial mindset. And I'm
Mm.
curious for you, when you think about the MS and Entrepreneurship program, how do you see this? We've talked a lot about future business owners. How do you see this potentially helping someone who wants to be more of a leader, but is still focused on working within, established corporation or established company they're at?
Yeah, that's a great question. And before I went to CU Boulder back in 2000, I guess it was, I worked for Sun Microsystems. My manager was incredibly entrepreneurial, and she encouraged us all to be entrepreneurial, come up with new concepts, new ideas. We'll run it by, the powers that be, get the funding, and take off if we get, the company's blessing. And we did do a project. Sun had been losing money for, I guess, 13 or 14 quarters. And she came up with an idea to support other people's operating systems. Sun would never support anybody's operating system except their own. And so IBM and HP and Dell and other operating systems that were selling into databases and data centers were making money because they were basically supporting anyone else's operating system if there was an issue. So she said, "Let's do it." And I was assigned as the lead for the project, not the technical lead. I didn't know squat about IT or anything working for Sun
Yeah.
Microsystems. My doctorate's in 19th century American literature. So I had what the heck? I didn't know what they were
Yeah, yeah,
talking
yeah.
about.
Sure,
But
sure.
I had a friend that I was working with. He was a former salesman for Sun, and he was technical as all get out. So we were a partnership. And together, he knew all the technical stuff. I would kind of work the relationships with our core team and then our extended team members that were around the world. And after 8 months of putting together this program, we brought in incremental revenue for Sun of about $42 million. And it got a lot of visibility.
Sure.
And ironically, I decided to leave because I got an offer to teach full time up at CU Boulder to teach
Right
management and
on.
leadership. So, but I'll never forget how her entrepreneurial spirit just invoked this motivation and initiative in my team. I had a team of 58 people around the world, but also my peers' teams. She managed our manager, probably a team of about 170 people. And I'll tell you, it was such a cohesive and cooperative team of folks that I had never worked with previously or, since. So to pull together a group that large and keep
Yeah.
them thinking on their toes of, hey, we've always done it that way. Yeah, that's crapola. Let's try it this way this time. Companies are looking for those people. They really are. Because there's so much competition going on, since anybody can, buy a URL and start their own business and compete with some very big organizations. But organizations I know, folks that I talk to who are still working in big, large corporations, are saying, if you know anybody who's entrepreneurial, send them our way if they want to work for an organization. We'll kind of stay out of their way if they really are entrepreneurial, and we'll give them whatever air support they need and funding
Yeah.
if they can come up with ideas. Google's perfect for that. They're very entrepreneurial. They have $1 million bonus for anyone who comes up with a concept that they actually launch, like Gmail
Wow.
and
Wow.
and what they also do, which is incredibly entrepreneurial, is 4 days a week you get to work in your business unit, doing whatever your business unit focuses on. 1 day a week you get to work on your own little project.
Wow.
So give people a day to work on something they really love, dangle $1 million in front of them. Google, it's brilliant. It's brilliant, really is. So, and companies,
Well,
pick up on that.
yeah, and it's something that, we emphasize with students is, this is not necessarily a program that is only if you want to launch your own business. As you're saying here, all of these organizations around the world need highly engaged, creative disruptors in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
People who are here, in a positive sense. They need someone who is going to come to work and say, okay, this is working, but can I do this better? Can I save money? Can this be more efficient? Can we find a new partner to work with on this project? And um, I think that you really only get that from students who think outside the box in a really strategic way. And so for anyone out there who is saying, I'm interested in this program, I like certain features that I've read about it, I've had good conversations with Brian, I'm thinking this is where I want to go, but I don't see myself as the type of person who's going to launch my own business. So is this right for me? As Jim has just laid out, this is a need in corporate America that we're kind of at this interesting point with entrepreneurship programs where it's just catching up to what the need is in corporate America. And there's so many changes right now in terms of how higher education is perceived from a skill set standpoint. A program like this can really help to launch you in that direction in a slightly non-traditional way, but a way that is going to put you in a really successful path. Um, we talked about this just a bit earlier, but I want to just return to it because I think it's a real core aspect of the program. Just kind of quickly, feedback towards students
Mhm.
as they're working on their own projects. Why is this so essential? And I know what I believe about this. That this kind of breaking down of um, you have an idea. It seems like the greatest idea ever, but let's give you that
Right.
hard feedback up front so it's not a shock later on. Why do you see this as so essential for students who are going after something like entrepreneurship?
One reason is because I've found that entrepreneurs are very independent thinkers, and they seem to get this misperception that if somebody looks at my project, my venture, my idea, and finds flaws in it, um, then suddenly I'm dependent on them
Mm,
to change, my way of thinking. People don't want to be wrong, just plain and simple.
sure.
Everybody wants to be right, and then everybody wants to rule the world. Sorry, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Hmm.
So what we emphasize, I know my colleagues and I emphasize, is sometimes to give that feedback that the student really needs to say, hey, great idea. Have you looked at this particular area that you're missing, or that maybe you have a misconception about your particular audience or the strength of this particular function or what have you. And I think what I stress in all my classes is all the feedback we give is given with the utmost respect,
Hmm.
and received with gratitude, because to have other people look at your project and say, this is great, but if you do this, it would be even greater. People get
Absolutely.
blinded by their own concept And they move forward, and I've seen people fail miserably, miserably because they get their ego involved. And they don't want to admit, wait a minute, I did miss something here. Or maybe I didn't go far enough, what have you.
Mm.
So that's what these are the checks and balances that I think are key in any course. I don't care if it's entrepreneurship, it's management, leadership, ethics. Other people's perspectives only enrich your own perspective if you keep an open mind. And the one thing I'm always, always stressing with my students is keep your mind wide open. Um,
Mhm.
I have a real short anecdote. It's an old
Yeah.
Zen parable. And the smartest man in Japan wanted to learn Zen. So he went to the greatest Zen teacher on a mountain in Japan. So he knocks on the door. The Zen master, Wu Wei, opens the door and says, "Come on in." He said, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm the smartest man in Japan." He says, "Well, sit down and we'll have some tea." So Wu Wei makes the tea and he starts pouring the tea in the guy's cup, and he's pouring and the cup fills up and he keeps pouring. Now the cup is overflowing. Suddenly the guy, the smartest man in Japan, no longer could take it. He says, "Okay, the cup is full, no more will go in." And Wu Wei puts the pot down calmly and says, "Like that cup, you're full of your own assumptions and prejudices and opinions. Unless you can first empty your cup, I can't teach you anything." So and the
I
lesson
love
I
that.
tell my students, yeah, is empty your cup and let other people fill it with ideas that you can, take and variations on a theme. You can manipulate, you can negotiate, you can do whatever you want. They're there for you as resources. Use them. Nobody is vacuum unto themselves. So the whole idea of an education is to open yourself up to all those ideas and perspectives. So
It's fascinating, and I'll share a quick anecdote because we in the springtime we host the climb event, which is our pitch our annual
yeah,
pitch competition, and for all students we host a few evenings of trial nights leading up to it, where we go over how to validate an idea, how to network and meet with entrepreneurs to share your idea, but it all builds towards this competition. Just before the competition, we do pitch market, where we have a number of entrepreneurs and investors come in, and students go around from entrepreneur to entrepreneur and pitch their idea. And the first challenge for students is getting their pitches down to 2 minutes, which every student out there, that is, if you struggle with how do I communicate my idea in 2 minutes, you are not alone. That is something everybody struggles with. But then the
right.
next thing is, I'm coming at you with this idea I have been working around in my head for years, maybe at this point in time. And now I want you to tell me that it's as good as I think it is. And to a person, every entrepreneur will go to them, okay, I like this, but this all needs to change. And this is why. And this is, I wouldn't follow this path. I followed this path. Don't do this. This is the wrong way to go. And I think to your point, to what I've seen in these events, when students hear critical feedback and they take it in a way that is a growth minded, they come out
Right.
of this, as you've noted here, with a ton of different opinions and ideas, a ton of different perspectives, because ultimately your customer base is going to be filled with a diverse group of people.
Yep.
And while you have to come up with a concept that satisfies them all to a certain degree, you're only going to get to that point by hearing multiple ideas and multiple perspectives and multiple insights. You're not going to get there just by thinking single-mindedly, this is the best idea that is going to change this particular industry.
I have to
Um,
share.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, please do.
One of my entrepreneurial ventures is I'm a professional certified coach for
Okay.
C-suite executives.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a woman get in touch with me. She had just gotten her coaching certification, and she wanted to be coached so she could become a better coach, if you will. And we
Mm,
did coaching for a year, and she decided she wanted to be an entrepreneur, and she went to CU Boulder. She took 4 classes, and she knew I worked at CU Denver, and She said, thinking of transferring. What do you think? I said, it's an incredible idea. Why not? So we've got a much better program, in my opinion. Um, but my opinion's prejudiced. She transferred to CU Denver. She started in the entrepreneurship program. She won the $10,000 climb prize, Misha Charles. So
I know.
it's just one of those things. So if you keep your mind, your head together, you can really go places you never expect to go. So,
I'll add to that because Misha is now one of the ambassadors for many of our prospective students, as well as one of the mentors for our current students in the program because of her success, because of what she's done with her overall career. So it's an amazing story where we've seen someone go from a great school, another great school, find a great program, win money within that program that she's able to put towards her business, and now she's giving back. It's a
yeah,
communal thing.
yeah.
Um, Last question for you, Jim, and I really want to, for everyone out there who's listening, thank you all. I hope you have gotten a lot out of Jim's thoughts. He's one of our strongest professors. Our students leave his classes better prepared for their careers, better prepared to be entrepreneurs. So I've been really thankful to hear your thoughts here for the last 30 minutes or so. But I want to hear any budding entrepreneur that joins the MS in Entrepreneurship program, put yourself in their shoes. What are three things that you recommend that they do to get the most out of this program and to leave the program ready to take over, as an entrepreneur or as an intrapreneur?
Um, I would say keep your eyes open. Um, and that means there's so much around you that we tend to miss because we get fixated and focused on one thing. If you I mean, just sitting in the entrepreneurship office and looking around and seeing the people come in, um, doing, having small meetings or whatever, and just watching what's going on is really, really important. And your mind's eye as well. Uh, the second thing I would say is keep your ego out of it. Um, and that goes back to keeping your eyes, but also your mind open. And because, when it comes down to it, our egos will eventually, it's like a psychological immune system. It doesn't want to hear the
Hmm,
bad news. It's there to
yeah.
protect you, keep you mentally healthy. So anything that might be a threat to you being wrong is kind of pushed aside or just eliminated. So the more we're vulnerable, leave ourselves vulnerable and open to good feedback, good constructive feedback, the better off we're going to be, without a doubt, not only in entrepreneurship, in our own lives. And I guess the third thing is just empty your cup because we can fill it with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
No
no,
doubt
that's a
about it.
really good way to put it. It's a great way to put it. Yeah, I think uh, as I've seen the most successful students in our program, they come in with that perspective. They're humble, they're willing to
Hmm.
learn, and they know that I'm coming in here because I have a thing for ideas and I want to be a leader and I want to see change in a specific industry, but I also need to know specifically how to get there. So, Jim, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your thoughts. This has been such a pleasure.
Oh, likewise, Brian. You do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you to everyone who's been hanging with us here. Professor LoPresti, hopefully this upcoming spring, maybe, hopefully next fall, you all are taking his classes because he's a fantastic professor for the program. So thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to go ahead here for everyone who is hanging with us still and give you a quicker overview of our program. And like I said, I'll pause for some questions towards the end. But I also will share my contact information so that you're all able to um, reach out to me should you have questions here in the next couple of weeks ahead of our deadlines. So just a quick overview about the Jake Jab Center for Entrepreneurship. This was founded in 1996 as the Bard Center, renamed in 2013 following a $12 million gift from Jake Jabs. Jake Jabs is pictured here on the screen. He is one of Colorado's strongest and most successful entrepreneurs. He is a part of many of our events and is there still at 94 years old, providing a ton of wisdom for our students. This is an academic department or resource center that is here with the express goal of fostering entrepreneurship at CU Denver. And we develop relationships with local business leaders to provide opportunities and support for entrepreneurship students like yourself. We offer the climb as well as other experiential events with the sole purpose of driving forward your entrepreneurial studies. In terms of an overview of our program, we are a customizable 30-credit curriculum. This allows you to choose any 10 courses in entrepreneurship that align with your interests, your goals, and your knowledge gaps. I'll work with you all on a personal basis to build out a degree plan that makes sense for you. This will make sense based on what mode of education you're going to be taking, be it online, be it in person, how many classes you want to take on a semester by semester basis based on your current working responsibilities, family responsibilities, what time you have to give to the program versus what time you have to give to other aspects of your life. We'll work through all of that together. And then from a goal and interest standpoint, we'll build this out based on what you're interested in. There are no core classes to our programs. There's no prerequisites. You are in the driver's seat for what you study and when. We have finance courses, accounting, visionary leadership, bioinnovation, lean marketing, puts you in a position where you're able to really drive forward what it is that you are interested in and build that out from an education standpoint. And then, like I said, we have a number of exclusive experiential events, the Climb, our pitch competition that Jim and I were talking about, our Best of Colorado Speaker Series, where you hear from entrepreneurs in Denver, mentorship opportunities with local entrepreneurs, as well as all students have the ability to complete 2 internships for credit. So that's 2 internships for 6 credits or 1 for 3 throughout your program. That is definitely a possibility for all students. Through this, we have an advisory council. We have mentorship opportunities with local entrepreneurs, some of Colorado's most recognizable entrepreneurs, innovators, and industry experts. People like Joel Apple, the co-founder of OxyClean, Orange Glow, Kaboom, and the delicious Zadie's Deli. Karen Hertz, who's the chief brewista and founder of Holidaily Brewing. And Sam Kumar, the CEO and founder of Cyber Sanic. These are just a small sample of our larger advisory council and mentors who work with students to find the best path forward, answer questions for them, put them in a position where they feel like they're taking the next step in their career. All these advisory council members serve as mentors, as well as offer internship and networking opportunities. We're here to work with you to make sure that you have as broad-based of a network as possible within the program. Tuition, this is always essential for students to learn about. Resident tuition is $750 per credit hour. Non-resident is $900 per credit hour. We deliberately subsidize the tuition of the program for all students to make this as affordable as possible. The estimated tuition cost is right between $25,000 and $27,000 based on fees, based on how you're doing the program, how long it takes you to complete the program. We'll work through you on the specific details there, but that's the total tuition you can anticipate, which I'd encourage as you're doing your research, as you're preparing for your upcoming master's degree studies, compare that to other MBA programs, other business-related programs, so that you feel totally confident in what it is that you're studying. Tuition is subject to change, so just be mindful of that, but this is as it's currently stated for this upcoming academic year. Application. So we are still accepting applications for domestic applicants for spring 2025. So any student who is a United States citizen is still eligible to apply for our program for spring 2025. I'll share some information for international students as we be looking to next fall at this point in time. But the application is very straightforward. Application, short answer questions, updated resume, transcripts are needed from all institutions where credit was awarded. There's no GMAT, no GRE required. References, interview, those are all optional. That's not a requirement at this point in the application process. The application fee is $50, and the deadlines for the upcoming spring 2025 program, we passed our priority deadline about a month ago, but the domestic final deadline is December 15th. So just over a month to start and complete your application for entry into the spring program. I promise you all, I've been working with students doing this for a number of years now. At this point in time, you have time to apply for the program, get in, prepare your degree, and start in spring. If you're thinking now is when I want to go back to school, but I worry I'm too late, promise you you're not. We'll work together to make this happen for you. On the international side, the application is the same. It's just a $75 application fee. Part of the reason for the $75 application fee is that we do all international credit evaluations in-house. Typically, those cost around $300 in a secondary third-party source. We do that all in-house, so that is not something that you are immediately worried about yourself. English language proficiency, you can do any of the following: TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo. Those are your options that you can utilize as you are preparing for the international application. So look into those from a cost standpoint, from a testing standpoint, see which one best fits you. You'll be applying for the F1 student visa. Once you have been accepted into our program, enrolled, you'll be matriculated within our larger system, and you'll get instructions from our International Student and Scholar Services Department on how to apply for this visa. I'll provide some info up front, but you'll have guidance from the school to put you in a position later. As I noted, we are past the deadlines for spring 25 because of visa delays, because of that challenge. We wanted to make sure our students have the ability to apply well enough in advance so that you're admitted and you are able to complete the visa. Our priority deadline for the fall of 2025 is March 15th. And I apologize if this is not on the screen, but I will just verbalize it right now. The final deadline for fall 2025 is May 15th. Now is the right time to start an application for fall 2025 if you're an international student. I will work with you all the same, provide insight, guidance into the program, and put you in a position where you're able to apply for your visa and get here on time so that there's no stress for you on that end. And that will conclude things here today. I'm going to throw a message here into the chat. If you'd like to ask any questions, I will answer some generalized questions at this point in time. If there's a more specific question about your application, about your interest in the larger program, I would just ask that you take a picture of my contact info there, send me a quick email or give me a quick call. Be more than happy to get in touch with you, set up an appointment for you. But if there's any larger questions anyone has here today. And Professor LoPresti will be open to questions as well. If you have any, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll leave this all running for a minute or so just to give you all a chance. We have one that came in with regards to how long it takes to complete the program. The program is very flexible, just so you all know. The ideal length for the program that I've seen most students be successful in is about 2.5 years. That's taking 2 classes per semester. It gives you the opportunity to balance things out a little bit between work and school and family, and then still have a target at the end that you're shooting for so that you're not like, I'm just in school endlessly. It gives you that finish line that you're shooting for, while also gives you a little bit of flexibility. You are welcome to take the program as quickly as you'd like. You are welcome to take it as slow as you'd like. The longest a student could take the program is 5 years. That's 1 class per term. So just kind of think in terms of, what do I have from a timing standpoint? What is the ability for me to make sure that this this happens for me in a really strong way. Another question here about scholarships. So great question. So two things. We, like I said in the presentation, we offer subsidized tuition for students to take the Master's in Entrepreneurship program. So it is deliberately, the cost is already brought down about half at the starting point. But in addition to that, we have a scholarship that is offered to all entrepreneurship students who apply that can take off, if approved, about $5,000 extra dollars on the tuition for the program. So you could do the program for about $20,000. There are additional scholarships that are available. For anyone who's asking about scholarships, do not hesitate to schedule a call with me. I'll send over specific information about scholarships and about what we have offered here at CU Denver. But we do offer an additional scholarship in addition to the tuition that's subsidized. So for anyone asking about that, like I said, schedule a call with me. I'd be more than happy to talk specifically about best path there. One more here. Curious the average work professional experience before entering the program. That is a great question. So the simplest answer is that there's no right or wrong way to do this. I have students who come right out of undergrad and come into this program because they want a master's degree. They figure, hey, I'm already in school. Why don't I just jump into this and do this at this point in time? I'll be finished with school by 23, 24, have a master's, have all these contacts made. But we see another side of students who are deeper into their career, 10, 15, 20 years into their career, and they've kind of hit a ceiling. And they say, I've got more ambition, I've got more to learn, I've got more to do. I need to go back to school. That's really the only way I'm going to be able to advance myself. And so we have a number of students in our program who are in that position where they've had a significant amount of work experience, they've got good ideas, but they're kind of like, I just need something more. I see some of our classes start that have, a larger scale of late 20-year-old students, and I see other classes start that are more mid-30s, early 40s. We have students who are even deeper in their career, who are in a position where they say, I want a master's degree because I think I could go back to school and teach, and this program offers me flexibility, it offers me insight into this field that I understand without belittling me and saying, you have to take these 3 to 6 classes before you take anything that you want to take, because we dictate this as core classes. So to your question, there's no right or wrong. There's no, it really comes down to, do you feel as though school is the right next step for you at this point in time? And if so, we're happy to work with you at this point in time. All right. Good stuff, everyone. So like I said, my contact info is up on the screen here. I'm going to share Jim's contact information here to everyone. Because he has some, if you have questions that you'd like to reach out, he said he'd be happy to do that. So I'm going to throw that in there. Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us here today. I really appreciate your time, your attention, your questions. They've been fantastic. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to working with you all here in the future. Thank you all so much, and I will look forward to talking with you all here shortly.